With thanks to the City of BRIMBANK across our neighbourhood and the world, the Sports Hour with Max Hatzoglou on BRIMBANK Live on Live FM.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Hour on BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. Great to have your company. It's great to be back in 2021, starting the show again and doing it in a fresh new year. We've got a big show coming up today. There's plenty happening in the world of sport. There's a bit of tennis, cricket, and there's a bit happening in the footy world as well, in the AFL. So we'll be talking about that and maybe some other things as well along the way. So I hope you enjoy the show.
And now we're going to welcome the special guest, the regular on our show, Mr. Charlie Gill. How you going, Charlie?
I'm going well, Max, as always. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Yeah, going well, thank you. It's exciting that we're back on air, and we're here to be bigger and better. So don't miss any minute of the show because it's going to be big, and we're planning to get some massive guests on, as we just spoke about off air. We're about to send the world into shock with what's coming up on the Sports Hour. Plenty of things, and I'm pretty excited. What have you been up to throughout the break, Charlie? And what are you looking forward to coming on today?
Well, I mean, in the break, I went on holidays, of course. After a year of a strange year, pretty cliche answer, but yep. And starting uni in March, doing film, and at the moment, I'm just doing a couple other things with music and trying to start a community newspaper for the area I live in. But that's another story. In regards to sport, as this is the Sports Hour, it's not the music hour or the newspaper hour. I am awaiting the commencement of the footy season with a lot of excitement, wanting to see just footy in general again, but I want to see how Carlton can do this year. A lot of expectations this year. And loving the Australian Open, as I always do. I actually went to the tennis about 2 nights ago. I saw Dasha Gavrilova win in straight sets, and I saw the Italian Berrettini win, and I saw Kokkinakis win his game, but he went out today in a 5-setter to Tsitsipas.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing in my break, and yeah, in terms of sport, I'm looking forward to the footy season in a big way, and also loving the tennis at the moment. So I'm playing quite a concerning amount of stick cricket on my phone. Like, it's becoming quite a problem. But that's also a story for another day. The game is called Stick Cricket Super League, and yeah, it's taking up all of my time. Anyway.
Yeah. No, that's great. And it has been an interesting time with the tennis on. And as you said, we're pretty excited for the footy to get started again. Now, there's been a bit of news in the media recently around footy, and it's sort of been, I think, sparked up by, it's fair to say, probably the Black Lives Matter movement, and that's sort of given it the momentum it's certainly deserved, and it's sort of come to light via Haritia Lumumba, who used to play for Collingwood, premiership player of the club, and he sort of brought up a few instances where he was racially vilified and sort of disrespected in that regard for where he comes from. Now he's there's been a lot of sort of talk around this, and Collingwood actually came out with the Do Better report that was widely put out in the media and it's been spoken about. And it's interesting because people are going either way, and the Waleed Ali interview, I don't know if you saw that. That's come out. But some of the things that are being spoken about, and especially from Lumumba, what he's saying about his experiences at the Collingwood Football Club, it does not sound pleasant at all. And what have been your thoughts the way Collingwood have handled it, and sort of what Lumumba has said about what his experiences were and Collingwood's response to that recently and at the time? It's a pretty serious topic. These are hard questions, but it's great that we're talking about it, I think, Charlie. And what are your thoughts about the response from Collingwood?
I think Eddie leaving was the right thing. Just not just with the Lumumba stuff, but also, the past stuff with Adam Goods and sort of Caroline Wilson, and just like a number of sort of gaffes, or some people would say worse than gaffes, certainly. And they, I think, all sort of have been there for ages, and then this Lumumba stuff is sort of, it's the last straw, and after that press conference that everyone thought was terrible, he sort of had to go, just to sort of save face for Collingwood, who have had a tumultuous, past 5 months or so with the list management as well. So even though Eddie, I'm sure a lot of Collingwood fans will say, he did a great job for the club, like the longest serving president, got you a premiership, and was there for, I think, at least 5 grand finals, which you either all lost. I think you all lost aside from your premiership. So he clearly did his job well as president, but I mean, I guess he didn't do his job well when it came to handling all this racism stuff. And the buck stops with him, I guess, as president. However, the thing I always thought was how come I was always, because Eddie's a pretty easy figure to vilify. I mean, he wasn't the most popular man before, the most recent situation, because of his, previous comments, and also just because he was a symbol of Collingwood, and most people just don't like Collingwood because of football's tribalism. But I was always sort of curious as to why sort of some other figures in the club escaped criticism, or escaped the sort of criticism that Eddie faced, because everyone was going off at Eddie, and sort of deservedly so. But things like Lumumba being the butt of racist jokes, or being racially vilified, those are things that, while I said, the buck stops with Eddie, those are things that Eddie's not going to witness as much, being, in his suit, in the boardroom. That's something that the other players, or more specifically the captain and the coach, are going to be aware of. And Buckley, I think, did he deny in his first press conference that he ever heard Lumumba being called that? And I mean, I'm not calling him a liar. I mean, it's just sort of interesting. And also, I guess Pendlebury is the captain while it was all happening. If he was he the captain back then in 2010? Maybe he wasn't. I'm not sure, but
He
Maxwell
was.
maybe.
Oh no,
But
Maxwell in 2010. Yeah.
Well, Maxwell was the premiership captain.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I totally agree.
Like, I don't really understand. Like, I'm not saying that Eddie's got like the rough end of the bargain, and that he's being unfairly attacked. But I think that because he's such an easy figure to sort of focus all the anger upon, it has sort of removed any like culpability for Buckley or Pendlebury or those sorts of figures, because it's just so easy to. Everyone loves to hate Eddie. Like, let's be honest. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people. So I just find it interesting.
Because he's a man with power, I think. That's why people
Well, yeah,
enjoy.
exactly. He's a
Yeah.
man with power. Like, he's a very recognisable face on the footy show and on Hot Seat.
He's done a lot of good
So
things as well.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what I was going to say is, like,
yeah.
I'm interested to hear your perspective, because my brother actually heard Nick Hatzoglou on radio the other day talking about this same issue. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, because, like, you and your dad and your family are big on multiculturalism and stuff. But you're also very big Collingwood fans, and you've defended Eddie in the past, and perhaps rightly so in certain circumstances. So yeah, I'm interested to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I think firstly what you've said, Charlie, I think is really important, really, because I think Nathan Buckley and Scott Peterberry have gone under the radar through all this, and it's probably fair to include, well, not really, but you could include Nick Maxwell into that conversation, as he was captain in 2010. But yeah, it's just interesting that they sort of haven't come out and said anything. And yeah, what I think about this situation was, and Eddie's sort of a big figure through this, because he's the one that's responding publicly to this. And people are seeing what he's saying, and he's a leader. He is a leader. People listen to him. People want to know what he says. And when he's saying that it's a proud day for the club on a day where the Do Better report comes out, I think that definitely did get sort of misinterpreted in a way, because look, that Do Better report is a great thing, and it's something to sort of be proud of in a way, that they're coming out and they're trying to make the world a better place for people of different races. Yeah. But, sorry, you go on.
And obviously that... Oh, sorry for interrupting you there, Max. That was childish of me. But
that's okay.
I was liking the direction you were going in, and I just wanted to add to it, which is that I think that he obviously phrased it poorly, but I don't think anyone really thought that he was actually saying that it was a proud day for the club because of the racism that was associated with the club. I think people were just sort of angry with the way he was trying to spin the entire circumstance in Collingwood's favour by saying, saying it's a proud day for the football club. Like, you could sort of communicate that same idea in different words, and it would probably be, I guess, applauded by a lot of the people that were deriding what he said. But it was just saying it was a proud and historic day, is making it sound like Collingwood, they went above and beyond to sort of stamp out racism in the club, and that Collingwood are, oh so special, when, the report was leaked. This problem doesn't seem to have occurred at any other club. Collingwood have sort of a history of being sort of somewhat associated with racism, with the Nicky Winmar stuff. So I think maybe it was just Eddie's attitude going into that press conference. And I'll be honest, because I haven't actually watched the press conference. I've just read articles and read the quote, which I'm going to imagine is what a lot of the people reacting to the press conference did as well. But I could just tell from that one quote, like, a proud and historic day for Collingwood, that it's he was approaching it with the wrong attitude, like a little bit more sort of humility, a little bit more, I guess, maybe not guilt's not the right word, but sort of, I guess, comprehension of the entire situation beyond it just being another chance for Eddie to prove, how great Collingwood are. That was a bad attitude to have, and it was probably his downfall. Yeah.
And I think, absolutely, I agree there. And I think the one part, you got to in all this, you got to address the victims of racism, and sort of the people that, like Haritia, for example, he's gone through all this stuff, all this bad stuff that he's sort of brought up. How about address it, Eddie? And I think that's where he went wrong. He didn't sort of apologize and acknowledge what had happened in the past. And I think he sort of skipped that step, and he sort of jumped the line, jumped the queue, and he's tried to ignore that and try and keep it positive. But you can't do that. Like, especially when someone's gone through as bad as what Haritia is saying, you need to address that. Now, I know Haritia didn't want to be involved in the investigation, which slightly, I think it's tough from the outside, because he might not want to be involved in the investigation because he doesn't want to deal with the people at the Collingwood Football Club like Eddie Maguire, because as it is, it's systemic. So even if he goes back into the system and starts talking to them, it's going to bring back memories of like how it was in the past, and he's just going to suffer in a way again. So I think that needed to be acknowledged, what sort of the club did in the past. And from there, you go forward, and then you look to improve. But I don't think you can just go from doing bad and then not acknowledging it and just trying to, it's pretty much like not. It's just hiding. It's hiding from what you've done, and it's not good for the members and everyone else if they don't know what's happening inside the club, and the club sort of just tries to hide it. You want to be open and honest about that, and especially when it's something so sort of sensitive. There's people of colour that follow the game and the Collingwood Football Club, and it's fair, it's only fair for them to know what is happening, whether it's good or bad. And I sort of think that got missed.
Well, I haven't, I'd be interested to know. And again, I haven't read the report or read everything that Lumumba has said, so I'm probably not qualified to, or even watch the press conferences. So I'm probably not qualified to talk that much on it. But I'd be interested to know sort of what Eddie is thinking to the whole thing, because I know it's not about Eddie, it's about Collingwood's racism, and it's about Huriya Lumumba. But I reckon, I saw people criticising Eddie in his last press conference for not sort of giving one mention to Lumumba and the whole situation. And I reckon that was potentially, and this is just maybe a theory born out of what I was saying earlier, which is that perhaps a lot of the people that escaped criticism and should have, deserved that criticism, like Buckley or some of the leaders in the playing group, like Eddie was maybe thinking, I'm being and he can't really think this that much himself because he's got such a history of saying bad things, but maybe he was thinking, this is, Lumumba being called a chimp and being racially vilified, that happened, amongst the players and amongst the coaches. That if that's going to be any one person's fault, you'd probably say it's, Buckley's or Pendlebury's, or the two of them together. And Eddie having to resign is sort of making him the face of racism at Collingwood. And yeah, while he has not helped himself at all with, saying what he did about Goods and his other comments, about Caroline Wilson and stuff, he might have been thinking, in himself how unfair it was that he's being sort of made the poster boy for Collingwood's racism, when the sort of specific to the Lumumba stuff like that didn't really happen on his watch as much. I mean, it did, the buck stops with him as president, but again, I just think he would have been a bit annoyed at that, considering that it was probably other people's fault to a greater degree. But like I said, he hasn't got much to complain about. Like, he should have gone. Can I just say, like, he should have gone before all this, for the good of Collingwood. So I'm just saying that I'd be interested to know, like, what he was thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not like he shouldn't be that surprised that he's had to leave. I mean, he's said so many things over and over that, you know, like, you can't really keep on getting away with it.
Yeah. And I think he does a lot good, Eddie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd like to know what you think about like, you know, he's obviously made an incredible contribution to the club, Collingwood. So I guess it's sad for a lot of fans, him leaving in these circumstances, but I think he should have left a while ago anyway.
Yeah. Well.
But yeah.
Yeah. He has done it. I think. Yeah. As I said, I think he's done a lot good, but a lot of the time I feel like it can be talk without a lot of action. And I think that press conference he had sort of represented that, because he's sort of trying to ignore what's happened and try and move forward. And I think by him sort of leaving the situation sort of shows that he doesn't want to be involved with it. And Lumba today, he said that in a tweet. I'm just trying to find the tweet, but the club cannot simply use Eddie's departure to say they are moving on without addressing the extra damage he has caused in the last 2 weeks alone. Let's not forget the report states that Collingwood Football Club's racism has set dangerous norms for the public. So Eddie's departure cannot be used as sort of a way to say Collingwood's moving on from this.
Yeah, good point.
And Lumba, he's a very intelligent guy. This is Collingwood seriously need to address this correctly and act on it and do things. And what an opportunity now during the Black Lives Matter movement and that sort of, or everything that's going on in the world to do that. And yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a wake up call to all the other AFL clubs as well, to sort of ensure that everyone's welcomed in, and that there isn't racism existent. And yeah, I think that's a definite important point to add. But look, I hope to see things happening throughout this AFL season, in regards to this space, especially at a time where it's being talked about. Why not support it? It's only good. There's nothing bad about it. And if you're hiding away from it, then yeah, it's sort of. And Australia is sort of multicultural. There's a lot of different cultures. A lot of different people play the game. The game itself is only in one country. And look, I think if the AFL ever wants to get ahead of itself, I go back down to look at yourself. Your sport's played in one country. I go to Europe. No one knows about this. So I think this space is no more important diversity in the AFL than any other sport. It is so important. And I think that, it needs to eradicate any sort of racism and get as many people from anywhere around the world to play the game. The game tried to get moved to China, not transferred, but expanded, and it's trying to expand. And it's really important, this space, for the game, for the future of it. Definitely needs to expand. And if I was going into the AFL now, that would be on the agenda. for sure. Expanding the game internationally, making it a sport that competes with every other sport in the world, and how economically, that'd be pretty good for the country. Imagine.
That's an interesting discussion to have, and we'll probably have it another day because there's a lot of opportunity there to have a good chat about it. Because, to be honest, I'm not sure if I would fully agree with you there regarding the international expansion of the game. I think there's a lot to be said for keeping this game domestic.
Wow. Well,
but I'm not sure if I actually fully think that. I'm just providing the other side of the coin. But yeah, we should have that conversation on the next show.
Look, I'll let that sit with you, and I'll also let it sit with the listeners, and we will be addressing that. It's an interesting topic, one that I'm sort of strongly about, but we'll leave it there. There's been plenty said today, and it's a pleasure to have you back on, Charlie. And I hope you have a wonderful next few days, and thanks again for coming on.
That's all right. Thanks for having me as always. And have a lovely evening.
And now we're going to welcome our special guest onto the show, Patrick Morrow. How you going, Patrick?
Very good, Max. Happy New Year. Happy 2021, mate. Thanks for having me on today.
It's great to have you on again, and we're back now, the Sports Hour in 2021, fresh new year, and very happy to have you on, Patrick. I wanted to start off today talking a little bit about Test cricket and what's happening in the cricket world. There's 3 tests going on at the moment, and one of them is a test match between the West Indies and Bangladesh. And there was a player who made 210 on debut. Did you get a chance to watch that match and witness his innings?
Yes, I did. I had a chance to watch some of the innings through a dodgy stream. Unfortunately, Cricket Australia's rights for foreign test matches don't get the West Indies versus Bangladesh, so you've got to do a bit of the old-fashioned Google search cricket live streams and then find it. But I did watch Kyle Myers bat for the West Indies, the debutant who made 210. He's from Barbados, has got an average of 20 at first class level, so surprisingly enough, got on to a few and made 210 in his second innings. In the first innings of his first test match, he made 40. And also bowls a bit of handy off spin at the same time. So he was up to 16 and none for 11 off his couple overs. It was an interesting test match, Max. Bangladesh batted first on pretty much I'd say a road. And made 430 with the likes of Mehendy Hassan and Shakib Al Hassan making most of the runs. Jamal Warrican was the best bowler with 4 for 133. Hassan made 103 and Shakib Al Hassan, arguably one of the best all-rounded cricketers, made 68 off 150 balls. The West Indies in reply in their first innings made 259. Craig Brathwaite made 76. He was top scored. And then the top bowlers for the Bangladeshis was Mehendy Hassan, the off-spinner, 4 for 58 off 26 overs. Again, just proves the point that the subcontinental conditions support those type of bowlers. And from there, Bangladesh looked like they were controlled when they declared an 8 for 223 with McNeil Huck making 115 off about 182 balls. So they did bat a bit slower than I'd expect when you got a good lead, but they gave themselves a good crack. The best bowler for the West Indies was the big man, Rakeem Cornwell, 3 for 81 off 27 overs.
And he opened the bowling as well. I'm having a look.
Yes, I did see that. So it was a very spin-friendly pitch, which definitely helped the Bangladeshis, especially when it came to their bowling, especially in that first innings. But then the second innings, well, the West Indies had 395 with 2.5 days to bat, basically, and somehow pulled it up with about 15 balls to spare and won by 3 wickets. Well, the man at the moment is Kyle Myers. Amazing double hundred on a tough pitch that was literally turning square from ball 1 on day 5, and the likes of Mehendy Hassan and Tajul Islam were very, very dominant with the ball.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say looking from the scorecard, looked like a Bangladesh win with them. I think the score was at one stage 5 for 190 or 200, and I think the next best bat after Kyle Miles with 210 was another lesser known player for the Windies, Nakum Bonner. So he made 86 off about 245 balls. So they did bat slow for it, and it was a tough innings to chase it down. Not very unlikely both sides to chase it down on day 5. So it's a bloody good effort for a side that was expected to get whitewashed in this series, considering who they were bringing in for the squad. It's a very good effort. So, it was a cracking game of cricket, and that's what we want for Test cricket. So
absolutely. And there was Kyle Myers, exceptional, 210 not out on debut. That's the highest. The fifth highest score on debut by any Test player, and also it's the highest score in a fourth innings by a debut player. So that's pretty crazy. That to start your Test career that way, it's pretty cool. And I know he was enjoying it. I actually gave him the follow on Instagram, and he was getting plenty of kind messages of support from others. But yeah, that was quite exceptional. And there was another Test match that was equally probably as good and as exciting, if not more. And it was Joe Root's 100th Test, and he did quite well. England got the win, and Joe Root, another double century maker, 218 on debut. Did you get a chance to watch this one, and what did you make of it?
I thought it was an excellent play by England. I thought India were, let's say, very sloppy, and that's not being very not being kind about that. To all Indian fans out there, if you're wondering why the team lost, well, in any Test match you need to bat first, and England made the statement straight away with 578 in the first innings. Joe Root once again proves why he should be in the Fab Four of the best 4 batsmen in the world. He made 218 off 377 balls, looked really in control. Another one who I'd say would be probably would have been kicking himself on day 1 was Dom Supley. He made 87, looked really good, and then got trapped by Jasprit Bumrah with a searing Yorker. And Ben Stokes again, 82 off about 118 balls. Again, just proves the point how great the English side are looking, and the likes of Don Best as well, 34 off about 105 balls, really helped England push along to make a massive total of 578.
Now,
and in India, in reply, well, the Wall himself, Pujara, made a lovely 73 off about 143 balls, and then got himself out of the weirdest way possible. Looked like India were going to be in control of this one, chase it down, and make England try and bat 2.5 days to force a draw. But Pujara going out the weirdest way, a half tracker trying to pull it, got hit the ball straight to the guy in short leg, and it come off his helmet. And then so catch off Burns there, which was a bit odd. But another guy who starred in the Australian series as well was Washington Sundar. Made 85 of about 138 balls not out. Looked really compact, really, really correct cricket, and he'll be someone to watch for the future. And also, again, Richard Pant, 91. His go, die, live attitude showed up once again. Unfortunately, he should have maybe pushed on with the 100 and went too many big shots. And just to finish off, Ravi Ashwin, 31 off about 91 balls. So India looked like, they got back in the contest, but then England found themselves in a bit of strife with Ravi Ashwin taking multiple wickets in the first couple overs, and he was actually turning it, as I was saying with the Bangladesh Test match, it was literally turning square, and the likes of Ravi Ashwin and Shaziz Nazim looked quite comfortable on this pitch, so ended up making it look much harder to bat on in that second innings for India, and I didn't expect India to probably not win the Test match, but probably draw.
Yeah.
Considering the fact they were chasing a mammoth total of 420. So India in reply, they tried to hang in there for a while. Kohli hanged in there for 72 off about 104 balls. Shubman Gill 50 off 83 balls. But the man of the moment in the match, I think, is got to be Joe Root and James Anderson. James Anderson again wind back the clock to what he used to do, reverse swinging the ball, and just made the thing talk for the whole day. 3 for 17 off 11 overs. That's including his first innings, which was 2 for 46 off 16.5 overs. So not a bad day's work for Jimmy Anderson. And once again, he could prove again, they're going to be thereabouts. And, this makes it interesting for the Test Championship ladder, because if England do win the series, they'll be playing New Zealand at Lords. And, it'll be big stuff for the Poms.
Patrick, I wanted to ask you this question about the Indian team now. They went over to Australia, as we know, and many would know. India won the series over here in Australia just recently. Quite a remarkable achievement from India, who were undermanned, and they just came over. They lost their king, the King Kohli, and they still managed to do it in the remaining 3 Test matches and win the series, or retain the trophy. But I wanted to ask you now, should Kohli have come back and taken the captaincy after Ajinkya Rahane performed so well, and he did his job in Australia, winning the trophy and winning a few Test matches? What do you think? I know hindsight's easy now, but what's your thoughts on this?
I think Kohli's got to be captain. I don't think Rahane should just be taking the job. Given the job after a few Test matches. There was an agreement after the first Test match that Rahane would take over, as normal protocol would happen with the vice captain and captain normally. Do I think Kohli should give it to Rahane? Not really. I think Kohli likes the job, and I think he'll stay on. But let's be honest, the first Test match in India, I think the pitch. I think the interesting was the one thing that came out of it was the pitch and also the SG ball. And Ravi Ashwin had a lot of commentary on this after the match and said, I don't like the SG ball anymore. I don't think it does enough for us. And without the use of, saliva and sweat, it hasn't helped. Also, I don't think the pitch suited the Indians immensely. It looked like a concrete slab, to be honest, for the first day and a half. So it didn't do what normal Indian pitches would do, especially in Chennai. It normally spins from ball one, so for it to be a bit of a docile wicket for a few days didn't help. And then I think also they kind of got into England's hands with having a second innings total, chasing down 420. It's a long total to chase, and they were never going to do it. And James Anderson just winds back the clock. So. Yeah, I don't think Kohli's gonna. I think Kohli's gonna gear himself up for a big second Test, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do win it in the end, because they'll make the pitch. They'll make the pitch do it for them, I think. And also with the Australian tour that happened, I think they gave us a bit of a false sense of security in a way. They thought, we're the best team, when it realised that the second Test we got outplayed by a mile, so that could happen again. You just don't know. And also with India's talent coming through, let's see what happens in the second Test. And, apparently Jimmy Anderson might be getting a rest, so that makes it a bit odd at the same time. So, yeah, so it's an interesting one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've saved all the journalists from jumping out of their seats, writing headlines. Patrick Morrow believes Rahane's the man for the captaincy. So well done, you steered clear of all that. And look, I agree with you. I tried to tempt you into putting Rahane's name up there, but I think Kohli, what he's done for the country and what he's achieved, he deserves a spot, and he deserves to keep his spot as captain. And yeah, 100%. Interesting thoughts there. I do like Rahane though. I loved it when he captained, but when you got King Kohli around. Yeah, it can be a different story. What did you think? What did you make of Australia and the South Africa tour, which didn't end up happening?
To be fair to them, I would say not a bad call, considering the issues at stake with it. Also, I don't think they were very. I don't think South Africa weren't very forthright in what they were doing. I think Cricket Australia had a bit of beef with the South African Cricket Board. Not to mention the South African Cricket Board's changed a bit over the time.
Yeah.
So Graham Smith's heading it. Yard Callis left and then went to England, and then there was a few other people who were senior up in South African cricket deciding to leave. So that doesn't help the situation. And then there's this whole unfortunate race card that's been going on in South African cricket where there's been a preferential treatment for the African type players to the white players, and that's no offence to any of those players who got picked, but there's been this massive shift in ideas and ideology, which is unfortunate. And then for them to say, "Oh, we don't want to play the Test series," and then we also offer them to play in Perth, I find a bit odd. It would have been great if we could play another series, and I think the ICC might need to look into. Probably, in the next Test Championship, would probably look into reserve fixtures and maybe probably even just play those matches in neutral venues, as what the Champions League and the Europa League are doing for the soccer. I know that Liverpool have got to travel to Hungary to play a game, I think, against RB Leipzig. So they're trying to make sure that those things go ahead. There was no reason if South Africa and Sri Lanka were able to play a Test series. I don't see the problem. But I think with general conditions there, I can see why maybe Cricket Australia are a bit iffy to it. It would have been a really interesting series, just in general terms. I think Australia would have won comfortably, would have helped us win the World Test Championship. I think South Africa's team is pretty weak at the moment. They struggled against Sri Lanka and didn't look like they were maybe 5 or 10 years ago. I think it's Australia's lost opportunity there. I think one thing I think that the South African Cricket Board need to realise, if Australia are offering a chance to play a Test series in Australia, you probably want to take it more for the marketing factor and the money factor at the same time. I think the other argument is as well, how many of those players want to do hotel quarantine again after an IPL and other certain T20 tournaments? They want to be in bubbles again. So that was the other issue, I think. And I think, if that's what they want to do, that's fair enough. And, if they think it's unsafe, it's unsafe. So go from there. And I think they're just going to have to, honestly, there's going to have to be a review by the ACC and sit down and discuss these reserve Test matches. Where do you play them? And I think also, if you look at the post-COVID situation, especially in India as well, it's quite amazing that they were able to play the Test matches as they've been doing, and I think it's been great that we got to see India play England. Even though it's no crowd, it's still great to watch. And Bangladesh and the West Indies, I don't think they had a crowd either, but I think it's just great for Test cricket to be still playing around the world. And you're going to have these issues at the moment until everything's cleared up around the world. I don't think we're going to be seeing for any time soon the cancellations of Test series, and unfortunately, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you raise a great point about the South African Cricket Board. They're sort of under a bit of pressure at the moment, and a lot of change is happening. And they're sort of working through a lot, and there could be a lot of sort of organisational issues around having a Test series there, and with all the COVID that's happening, maybe it's the right call from Cricket Australia. We'll sort of, I guess we'll find out in time whether that was or wasn't the right call. I wanted to lastly catch your thoughts on the Australian Open, which has started. It's gotten off the ground. COVID sort of kept away, and it's been lucky to happen. It's quite remarkable, actually. It's like running a World Cup, having all these internationals coming down and playing in the tournament. What have you thought so far? Anyone caught your eye out of all the players so far?
Well, last night's match has to be spoken about with Nick Kyrgios. I think it was a pretty epic game. 2 sets, 1 down. The comeback off match points to win it was quite remarkable. Eric Hombe is a quality player, and once again, just Kyrgios' fight and determination, and also, his attitude was still there on display, but once again just showed why he could be a genuine star. He's caught my eye especially. Another one I'd also say would be Taylor Fritz, the American, the 27 seed. He's had he had an interesting game against his fellow American, Opeka. in Rolling Pekka in 5 sets. He won as well, had 18 aces. First serve was pretty good, and, he won most of his points on his first serve, so
Yeah, wow.
he'd be looking good as well.
That was quite remarkable. He won 7. The sets he won was 7-6 and 7-6, and then the last one was 6-2.
Yeah. So it was a pretty odd one, and I think the interesting one as well, the other one that was interesting that no one's actually talked about was Dominic Thiem, Novak Djokovic was pushed for 4 sets against the young American in TFO, which I'm surprised has not been even mentioned. So that went to 4 sets. So it was 1 set all, and then Djokovic got on hold in the last 2 sets to win it in 4. So that's what's been catching my eye in the men's draw. On the women's draw, there was a few upsets yesterday, including I was going to just say, I'll say Naomi Osaka won comfortably. Simona Halep nearly had an upset of her own against Tomljanovic. And so Venus Williams, she played with a lot of courage yesterday, did her ankle and pushed through 2 sets. So I'm surprised she even got through it, even though she got rolled. It was a good effort. Maybe the most interesting one would probably be Petra Kvitova. She lost to a little-known Romanian player, Sorana Kriesia, in 3 sets, 6-4. Kvitova won the second set 6-1, but then lost the third 6-1. So there's a bit of iffy there. And the other one I'd say would be the Canadian Bianca Idescu, who was a former US Open champ, lost to the Chinese Taipei player Hugh Sui Wei in straight sets. So that was a pretty comfortable win for her, which is surprising for Greenspan. Idescu was a quality player and has gone to the heights of tennis. So it's quite interesting.
And that Swai, who she doesn't have the biggest power. Doesn't have a lot of height to her. I actually watched that game. But what she has is just a match. She's just a big fighter. She's good at returning anything that comes her way, and she'll play long games, long points, and win them. But look, I want to talk about the star of the show, Nick Kyrgios. Tell me what you think about him. Now, what I found fascinating about his game last night was that he had a knee issues in the first sort of 3 sets, and then when it was down to crunch time, he sort of just totally forgot about it and just focused on playing. He totally forgot about the umpire and complaining. He just absolutely switched on and focused on winning because that's all he had to do. That's all he could do if he wanted to survive. That knee was non-existent. No problems. He just absolutely turned his attention to winning the game. And I found that fascinating. When he's on, he's so on. And if he can just do that more often than not, he's gonna win this. He's beaten Novak twice before. What do you think? What do you think, Patrick? The show.
He'll probably. He's got Dominic Thiem, who's arguably going to be up there for a long time as a tennis player in his own right. I thought Kyrgios last night got very lucky. Eric Hombay did have match points. If anyone missed it, Hombay did have match points in the 4th, and then for Kyrgios to play those big shots, as Jim Courier said, to play those big shots down the line. The big forehand, the big backhand, it helped him. And then from there, switched on from there. I thought Kyrgios, as they say, he brings pure entertainment to tennis, and I think he brings different fans of tennis. There's an argument that maybe Kyrgios and Dominic Thiem should play on the John Cain Arena, but that won't happen due to the fact that Dominic Thiem is the 3rd seed and probably deserves to be playing on Rod Laver. I don't think that would help his game if they played at John Cain. I think Kyrgios loves that arena. Just due to the fact that the atmosphere is so unruly and so not tennis fan-like. So he's so used to that, and I think something that makes me interested about Kyrgios, which is it makes him a fascinating person. And if you had a psychologist sitting down, they'd say he's a fascinating person to look at. His attitude to playing the game is very serious, but his attitude to just general conversation seems like just a normal person who's just playing this game. And at the same time, I wouldn't say normal person. I think he's a bit of a freakish player, but I think at the same time, you look at him, you go, yeah, you're a bit of a flog at the same time, and that's where I picture him.
Yeah.
And it's no disrespect to him. I think he's a quality player as a tennis player. I just think personality-wise, if the likes of Nadal and Federer are looking at Kyrgios and going, what's this bloke doing for the 100th time? That probably tells you something. That probably he's just needs the attitude to be tuned up a bit, and also. What I didn't like last night was maybe complaining about the lets. It's quite obvious they were lets. If the umpire's seeing on the counter thing or the measuring thing they do to count what lets are, then probably need to let that go and just play the game. And I think what I didn't understand as well is the constant whining and complaining, and that's just something he needs to get out of his game, because if he gets out of that game and finds the right coach and probably the right people around him, he'll probably go somewhere, and I think he doesn't realise that yet. And I think that's his issue. And I don't think he'll beat Dominic Thiem. And if he does, well, good luck to him. But it's a tough game. Thiem's a quality player. He proved it last year. Probably was so unlucky not to win it last year against Djokovic. He looked really quality in the final. So in the third round, it's going to be an interesting one. Team's got a big forehand and a big backhand. I don't know how Kyrgios has played him for 6 years, so it's a long time. So the footage, we'll have to get the footage out to see what he's done since then. But yeah, that's it really.
Yeah, it's he brings entertainment, and sometimes it's not in the right way. I agree with you, especially. Probably got a little bit over the top with the chair umpire and all that happened. But he's an entertainer, and that's what I really like about him. But obviously, you want it to be in the right spirit. And yeah, it's exciting because he's matured, and I think he's continuing to mature. And yeah, he's done good things. He's done a lot of bad things as well. But geez, he's exciting for the game. He's good for the game, I think. And yeah, it's going to be good to watch him and Dominic Thiem. I think the talent's certainly there for Kyrgios. It's just whether his mind's in the right place and if he can get the job done. Yeah, and
the other issue will be his head. If I was the opponent of Kyrgios, you'd just wait till he has a tantrum and probably you know when to pounce there. I think that's something where Bay could have taken it to him yesterday and probably could have won the fifth set. All he had to do was break him, and he had that opportunity in the last game before Kyrgios got away with it. So some just basics, a bit of luck goes his way. The basic tennis goes Kyrgios' way as well. Bay had a backhand that should have gone over the net. So some stuff goes his way. I think the only thing that's going to go for Kyrgios is if they change the ground, or the arena, to Melbourne Arena or John Cain Arena, if that's where they want to play the match. Considering the fact that Djokovic is playing Fritz, you've got Milos Raonic playing Futnius, and then Grigor Dimitrov's playing Garina Buliska, and you've got Zverev as well. They might have to put it on John Cain, or they'll probably play Kyrgios and Thiem in the middle of the day and leave Djokovic for the night, considering the fact Djokovic would prefer to play night as the finals at night time. So it gives him the extra preparation, if you know what I mean. So they probably might do that and then force the others onto the other courts or do the other way around. So it'll be interesting what will happen.
Absolutely. It's exciting. If I was an opposition player or, who's he playing against next game? It's Dominic Thiem, that's it. If I was him, I wouldn't want to leave the game to the last set and the deciding set because the crowd factor is massive and it's heavily in favour of Kyrgios. And I think it got to him last night. Humbert, I think he just sort of suffered under the pressure. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. And Patrick, it's great to have your thoughts
on the show today, and appreciate you coming on. And it's good to be back on air with you and sharing our thoughts again. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, 100%, Max. Pleasure to be on, and we'll talk soon.
And that rounds out the show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Plenty of interesting discussions happening there throughout the show. It's great to be back, and we'll be back next week as well. So remember to tune in and keep an eye on our Twitter page at SportsHourFM for updates on what's happening. As I said, I hope you enjoyed the show, and I look forward to catching you soon. And that was the Sports Hour on BRIMBANK Live on Live FM.
With thanks to the City of BRIMBANK across our neighbourhood and the world, the Sports Hour with Max Hatzoglou on BRIMBANK Live on Live FM.